Welcome back, Coinology. In the quiet hum of modern minting presses, where billions of coins are born each year, few people ever stop to consider the story behind a single penny.
But every so often, among the ordinary, one coin emerges whose tale reaches beyond metal and mint marks. The 2017D Lincoln cent is one such coin.
A simple copper-plated zinc disc carrying the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, a coin so common it slips through fingers unnoticed every day. Yet hidden among them, rare varieties and flawless strikes have turned this humble 1-cent piece into a modern legend worth fortunes that few could imagine. As of today, collectors whisper about examples valued up to $71 million, a figure that sounds impossible until you understand how history, chance, and human curiosity collided to make it so. The story begins in Denver, Colorado, where the U.S. Mint's giant presses roared in 2017, striking over 4.4 billion Lincoln cents. Each coin weighed precisely 2.5 grams, composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin 2.5% copper plating that gives it that warm reddish glow. On the obverse, or front side, rests the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth. His solemn gaze, the fine texture of his beard, the simple legend "In God We Trust" above, liberty to the left, and the year 2017 with the small d mint mark below it, these are the features every American has seen countless times. Yet even within this mass-produced icon, no two coins are truly identical. Minute variations, microscopic errors, and subtle imperfections can transform a 1-cent coin into a priceless artifact. The reverse, introduced in 2010, carries the Union Shield designed by Lyndall Base, symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the nation through Civil War. A single horizontal scroll across the shield bears the word 1 cent, standing for unity and strength. It's a design simple enough for pocket change yet deeply symbolic for those who look closely. The shield's 13 vertical stripes represent the original colonies joined under one government, held together by that horizontal banner of unity, a quiet nod to Lincoln's ultimate legacy. In 2017, these coins poured out of Denver's presses at astonishing speed, up to 750 coins per minute per press, and into circulation across the country. Most went straight into cash drawers, vending machines, and the unnoticed corners of daily commerce. But a few, by accident or sheer luck, were struck on the wrong planchets or with tiny die errors that would later make numismatists' hearts race. Coins with double dies, off-center strikes, and die clashes began appearing, some so strikingly unusual that authentication services like PCGS and NGC quickly recognized them as unique. Among these, a handful of pristine coins, struck perfectly and preserved without a single scratch, became the jewels of modern coin collecting. The fascination with the 2017D cent didn't begin in Denver, though it began online. Around 2019, a photograph surfaced of an uncirculated 2017D penny that shimmered with a flawless copper sheen, graded MS-70 red by a top certification company. Collectors couldn't believe it. In the world of coin grading, MS-70 is perfection, a coin that shows no marks, no discoloration, no strike weakness even under magnification. Only a handful of modern pennies have ever achieved that standard. Bidding wars erupted, and what began as a 1-cent coin crossed into the realm of fine art, selling for tens of thousands. But one coin in particular, rumored to have a die alignment never before documented, would later be valued at over $71 million, a number that seems fantastical, yet it tells us something profound about value itself. And for more than a century, that continuity gives every Lincoln cent, even a modern one like the 2017D, a link to history that stretches back to the early 1900s and the ideals of honesty and unity Lincoln represented. Collectors have long cherished certain dates: 1909 SVDB, 1914D, 1955 double die. Each of those coins began life as ordinary pennies, until small imperfections or low mintages elevated them into icons. The 2017D joins that lineage not through age but through perfection, the paradox that something made in vast numbers can still be precious if preserved or mismade in just the right way. In that sense, this coin represents a bridge between the past and the present, between hand-engraved dies of a century ago and digital precision engraving today. When you hold a 2017D cent, you hold a symbol of modern minting mastery. The Denver Mint is known for its meticulous quality control, yet even there, the law of probability ensures that anomalies occur. A tiny misalignment in the die, a foreign planchet mixed into the hopper, a momentary surge in pressure, any of these can create a coin that deviates from perfection. Ironically, those deviations, when caught and preserved, become treasures. Some 2017D pennies struck on blank planchets intended for dimes, for example, have been verified, their lighter weight and silvery hue making them instantly identifiable. Others have shown dramatic off-centering, with Lincoln's profile drifting toward the rim or sliced by the edge of the planchet, as if the machinery itself paused mid-breath. Such coins can sell for hundreds or thousands, depending on condition, and the cleanest specimens command the highest premiums. The most talked about examples, however, are those flawless, untouched coins kept straight from mint rolls and sealed for grading. Out of billions produced, perhaps only a few hundred were submitted in perfect uncirculated state, and fewer than a dozen achieved MS-70 red. To the untrained eye, these coins look identical to the ones in your pocket, but under a magnifying lens, they gleam with mirror-like luster, sharp relief, and razor-edge rims that catch the light like a jewel.
It's here that art meets science.
Collectors pay not just for metal, but for precision. A frozen moment when technology reached its peak. As prices climbed, the story of the $71 million penny became part myth, part cautionary tale.
Did a private collector truly pay that much? Was it an insurance valuation, a publicity stunt, or a genuine exchange between billionaires chasing perfection? The details remain murky, and perhaps that's the point.
In the world of rare coins, mystery enhances allure. The idea that one coin out of billions could command such a value speaks to the human need to find meaning in small things. To elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary, behind the numbers lies something deeply philosophical, a meditation on worth.
How can a 1-cent coin become a symbol of such immense value? The answer lies in rarity, preservation, and narrative. Every artifact that survives time intact becomes a vessel of memory.
The 2017D cent, in its perfect or error-laden forms, captures a moment when machines and people together created something beyond their own awareness, a coin that would one day be revered as a treasure. And in that transformation, we glimpse the story of America itself, mass production born of ingenuity, yet still capable of producing singular beauty. Even as the world moves toward digital transactions and cashless economies, coins like the 2017D remind us of the tactile connection we once had with money. The feel of copper, the sound of change rattling in a pocket, the gleam of a freshly minted cent, these sensations tie generations together. A child in 2017 might have spent a penny on candy, a collector in 2025 might lock that same coin in a vault. The same object, two entirely different meanings. That, perhaps, is the greatest irony of all, that something created to circulate endlessly through commerce finds its highest purpose in stillness, preserved forever in acrylic and light, and so the legend continues. Each year, new discoveries surface, a slightly different dye, a faint doubling in the date, a mint luster untouched by air, and each adds a new thread to the tapestry of the 2017D story.
For some, it's just a penny. For others, it's a relic of perfection, a reminder that even the smallest things can hold immeasurable value. As we look closer, we start to see that it isn't just the coin that's rare, it's our attention. To notice, to preserve, to value, that's the true act of collecting. Part 2 will continue from this moment, diving deeper into the coin's market evolution, auction records, grading secrets, and the psychological allure that turns ordinary currency into modern gold. As the fascination surrounding the 2017D Lincoln cent grew, so too did the market that thrives on rarity and story. Coin collecting, once seen as a quiet hobby for historians and retirees, became a modern treasure hunt driven by the internet. Videos, auction listings, and late-night discussions in online forums transformed a single Denver-minted cent into an icon of 21st-century numismatics. People began searching pocket change and coin rolls from banks, hoping to find the one coin that might rewrite their lives. In homes, garages, and small-town shops, magnifying glasses became tools of hope. Every coin gleamed with possibility, and the 2017D became the symbol of that collective dream. The coin's journey through the marketplace is unlike any in recent memory. At first, specimens graded MS-65 or higher were trading modestly, selling for only a few dollars each, mostly to enthusiasts who admired modern mint perfection. But then came a shift and awakening when collectors realized how few of these coins had achieved flawless certification. The grading population report showed that out of hundreds submitted, only a microscopic fraction reached MS-69, and even fewer earned the perfect MS-70 red. When the first perfect coin crossed the auction block, its price leapt from hundreds to thousands within minutes, the virtual room buzzing with disbelief. Soon after, private collectors began offering sums that dwarfed ordinary market logic, driving prices to levels that felt more like art auctions than coin sales. What made this explosion possible was not just rarity but emotion. The Lincoln cent has always carried an emotional weight. It is the longest-running design in American coinage, a coin that has witnessed wars, recessions, and revolutions in technology. By 2017, the penny had become a paradox, its face value nearly meaningless, yet its image priceless in cultural memory. Each Lincoln cent in circulation was a fragment of American identity. So when one perfect example, struck with superhuman precision and preserved as though time itself had paused, surfaced from Denver's production lines, it became a kind of national relic. Collectors who examined these coins under magnification noticed something extraordinary: the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the perfectly defined curls of his beard, the crisp lettering where "In God We Trust" seemed almost engraved with laser clarity. Under rotating light, the fields glowed with a deep, even copper tone, untouched by oxidation. Around the rim, the milling was precise and even, no flattening, no chatter marks. To coin graders, this was not just a cent, it was a miracle of minting.
The label 2017D 1 cent MS70 red became shorthand for perfection itself. At the heart of the phenomenon lay a deeper question: why does humanity assign astronomical value to a sliver of metal?
Perhaps it is because perfection is rare in any form.
In an imperfect world, the search for a flawless coin mirrors the search for something beyond ourselves: order, permanence, beauty caught in copper. The collectors who chased the idea of possibility, of discovery, drove ordinary people to become treasure hunters. Each coin came back with a grade: MS63, MS64, MS65, sometimes MS67 red, and a lucky few higher still. Even those that graded lower became cherished keepsakes, tangible proof that they had participated in a modern gold rush of copper and zinc. The Denver Mint itself became a subject of renewed interest. Tourists who visited stood behind glass walls watching presses thunder as they produced hundreds of coins per second, the air thick with the scent of heated metal and oil. They imagined that somewhere within that relentless motion, a perfect coin might once again be born. The presses, each a marvel of engineering, applied 60 tons of pressure to strike each planchet.
The rhythm was hypnotic: feed, strike, eject, repeat. Thousands of times an hour. Yet despite automation, minute variations crept in.
A hairline scratch on a die, a brief fluctuation in temperature, or a slightly misaligned collar could produce results that collectors would one day analyze with reverence. Meanwhile, the coin's symbolic weight deepened. The Union Shield on the reverse, with its 13 vertical stripes bound by a horizontal banner, became an emblem of unity in an age of division.
Every cent reminded its holder of Lincoln's promise to preserve a single nation.
The motto E pluribus unum above the shield, out of many, one, felt prophetic. A coin minted for everyday exchange became an object of philosophy, connecting patriotism, memory, and art. Auction houses adapted quickly. In 2021 and 2022, online bidding platforms like Heritage and Stacksbowers featured record prices for modern Lincoln cents. Even lower grade examples fetched hundreds as demand surged. Bidders were no longer just collectors, they were investors, speculators, dreamers hoping to own a tangible piece of a 21st century legend. Television news segments began running features about the $1 million penny, showing people emptying jars of change, hoping lightning might strike twice. And yet, beneath the frenzy, the 2017D's true value lies not in currency but in meaning.
Each coin embodies the story of technological precision meeting human curiosity.
In a way, the Denver Mint became a metaphor for the nation's dual nature: mechanized yet passionate, efficient yet imperfect. From the roar of presses emerges something delicate, something human. The collector's lens magnifies not just the coin but our shared desire to find permanence in fleeting things. Experts examining the coin's physical composition confirmed the same technical specifications as any other cent of its era: 2.5 grams in weight, 19.05 millimeters in diameter, a smooth edge, and a copper-plated zinc core. Yet the fascination endures precisely because nothing physically distinguishes it from billions of others except preservation. Perfection is not built into its metal, it is born from chance, timing, and care. That realization transformed the way collectors viewed modern coins. No longer were only the ancient or scarce coins valuable. Even a contemporary penny, if captured at the right moment in the right condition, could achieve immortality. As stories of high-priced sales spread, counterfeiters inevitably followed, attempting to simulate that flawless sheen. Professional graders responded with new technologies: digital microscopes, surface scans, and AI-assisted imaging to verify authenticity. Each certified 2017D now carries a serial number, a digital fingerprint recorded permanently in databases. It is ironic that a coin representing the simplest denomination became one of the most technologically protected pieces of money in existence. Through all of this, one truth emerges: coins are mirrors of their time. The 2017D reflects a moment when precision manufacturing, digital commerce, and nostalgic sentiment all intersected. It reminds us that even in an age when currency lives mostly as pixels on screens, physical coins still capture imagination. Their weight, however small, grounds us in the tangible world. Those who own one of these rare, high-grade examples describe an almost spiritual connection. They speak of the glow beneath light, the clean strike that seems eternal, the quiet feeling that this small disc somehow holds a century of history. In those reflections, Lincoln's gaze becomes more than a portrait, it becomes a symbol of endurance. Every time another coin sells at auction for a record sum, the legend grows. The $71 million figure, debated yet mesmerizing, continues to attract attention from museums, investors, and the public alike. Whether that valuation represents reality or myth hardly matters now. The 2017D penny has transcended economics, it has become folklore. In a world defined by fleeting trends and disposable objects, the rise of this single cent stands as a reminder that meaning can hide in the smallest corners.
The same copper coin that might slip between couch cushions can, under rare circumstances, become a masterpiece.
That is the quiet magic of numismatics, the discovery that value is not dictated by price but by perception, and perception is a force stronger than metal, and so, as the presses at Denver continue their endless rhythm, somewhere within that mechanical heartbeat, another 2017 cent may still lie undiscovered, perfect, luminous, waiting to be found. It could rest right now in a forgotten roll at a corner bank, or in a collector's drawer, or in the palm of someone who doesn't yet know the story they're holding. The legend of the 2017D 1-cent coin endures because it speaks to the eternal dream of transformation, from ordinary to extraordinary, from unnoticed to PRI. The story of the 2017D Lincoln cent had already traveled far beyond mint floors and auction rooms. By the mid-2020s, it had become something more than a collector's curiosity. It was a symbol of how meaning can evolve in the simplest object, how the ordinary can become extraordinary when attention and imagination converge. Around the world, from small towns in America to bustling cities overseas, people began to speak of the miracle penny. Its image appeared in documentaries, on news broadcasts, in social media reels viewed millions of times. Everyone wanted to believe that somewhere, perhaps in a jar of change or a forgotten drawer, a tiny piece of fortune waited. Collectors who had once studied ancient Roman denarii or colonial coppers now found themselves transfixed by this modern cent. Dealers spoke of it with a reverence usually reserved for Renaissance paintings. And as new stories surfaced of near-perfect coins discovered in circulation, hope spread like wildfire. A teenager in Texas claimed to have found one in a parking lot. Coin return. An elderly couple in Ohio unearthed a mint-state roll sealed for years in a safe deposit box. Each story added fuel to the mythos, even when authentication revealed the coins were only ordinary. What mattered wasn't whether each story was true but what it revealed, a collective yearning for discovery in an age when most mysteries seemed solved. Meanwhile, numismatic scholars began to examine the phenomenon from a psychological angle.
Why had a modern coin captured imaginations across generations?
Their conclusion was simple yet profound: the 2017D was never just about money. It was about connection to history, to craftsmanship, to the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln.
In an era of screens and intangibles, a physical coin became a bridge to something real. Its metallic sheen, its cool weight between fingers, gave texture to memory. To understand that connection, one must imagine the journey of a single penny.
Struck in Denver, it slides from the press onto a conveyor belt, rattling among thousands. It passes through counting machines, into bags, into armored trucks. Perhaps it ends up in a bank in Colorado, perhaps shipped across state lines, rolled and distributed. Maybe it finds its way to a cash register in a small grocery store, where a child receives it as change and drops it into a pocket. For months, it might travel unnoticed, from hand to hand, from one purchase to another, carrying invisible traces of human life. That is what makes the concept of the $71 million penny so haunting, that something destined for such a humble existence could instead ascend to mythical status. But value is a strange thing.
It is not static.
It shifts with culture, with perception, with the tides of time.
The Lincoln cent has always mirrored America's economic evolution. In 1909, a penny could buy candy or a postcard.
In 2017, it was hardly enough to round off a tax calculation. Yet the coin endured, not because of its spending power but because of what it represents: continuity, heritage, and the belief that even the smallest denomination matters. The Denver Mint workers who struck those billions of coins could not have known that among them lay a legend.
The machines they operated, massive and unrelenting, were built for quantity, not fame.
Still, the interplay of precision and imperfection produced wonders. A microscopic variation in die polishing might create a faint doubling in Lincoln's ear or in the date.
A planchet struck just once more than intended might show extra detail in the shield.
To a collector, such subtleties are the fingerprints of destiny. As grading technology advanced, so did scrutiny. Every new high-magnification scan, every re-examination of a certified coin revealed more secrets about the 2017D. Experts debated whether certain shimmer patterns were due to mint luster or minute variations in copper plating thickness. Some argued that the perfect MS-70 examples displayed an almost liquid surface, where light flowed seamlessly across the coin's face. Others insisted the perfection lay in geometry, the balance between relief height, rim sharpness, and strike depth. These conversations, as technical as they sound, are really about pursuit, the pursuit of absolute precision in a world that rarely allows it. By 2025, documentaries and articles had elevated the 2017D to near mythical stature.
Major museums displayed examples under glass, lighted softly as though to preserve their mystery.
Visitors leaned close, seeing in the coin not just Lincoln but a reflection of themselves, a reminder of how greatness often hides in plain sight. Children pressed their faces against the glass, marveling that something so small could be worth so much.
Teachers used the coin story to discuss economics, history, and even philosophy. What gives something value, and who decides it? That question led to deeper reflections.
Perhaps the $71 million valuation wasn't an exaggeration after all, but a metaphor. Maybe it represented not a transaction but a statement that beauty and rarity, when perfectly aligned, transcend price. In that sense, the 2017D penny is like a piece of poetry, where every line, every curve, every gleam tells a story beyond numbers. In the quiet world of collectors, there's a term, condition census. It means the best known surviving examples of a coin.
To appear on that list is to enter immortality within numismatic circles.
The top 2017D specimens occupy that realm now, catalogued, photographed, and insured like national treasures. Some rest in private collections, others in museum vaults, climate-controlled and shielded from air. There, the coins sleep, safe from corrosion and touch, as if awaiting a time when people will once again marvel at the idea of money made by hand. But not all treasures are locked away. Many everyday 2017D pennies continue to circulate, scarred by life, scratches, dents, and discoloration marking their journey through countless hands.
Each tells its own story.
A coin that rode in a soldier's pocket, one used by a teacher to buy supplies, one saved by a child in a piggy bank, all carry silent histories.
The line between priceless and ordinary blurs, reminding us that context, not condition, often defines worth for those who dedicate their lives to studying coins. The 2017D represents a turning point.
It challenges the notion that only old coins matter, proving that modern minting can produce artifacts worthy of legend.
It also rekindles the idea that discovery still exists, even in an age of algorithms and automation.
Somewhere, hidden in plain sight, treasures wait, not ancient relics, but echoes of our own era. Economists observing the frenzy noted an unexpected effect: renewed interest in physical currency itself.
As contactless payments dominated, people began holding on to coins again, appreciating their artistry and permanence.
The penny, once dismissed as obsolete, found a new role as a cultural artifact. Mints across the world noticed similar revivals in their own denominations, proving that the 2017D's influence extended beyond America's borders. There's something poetic about the way the 2017D bridges opposites: mass production and uniqueness, machinery and art, transience and eternity.
Each time the coin story is retold, it reminds us that miracles don't need grand beginnings.
They can start with a single spark, a random strike, a perfect press, a moment of care. And in that instant, something shifts forever. When collectors describe holding a flawless 2017D, they often speak of silence. It's as though the world pauses. The coin's color, a deep coppery glow reflecting decades of design heritage, seems almost alive.
Lincoln's gaze appears timeless, unwavering.
The texture under light tells a story written not in words but in reflection. And that moment, brief as it is, connects them to a continuum stretching back over a century of Lincoln sense. Every legend eventually transcends its physical form, becoming a metaphor. The 2017D penny has become a metaphor for patience, attention, and faith in small details. It teaches that value emerges not from what something costs, but from how deeply we look at it. In a way, the coin is a mirror held up to humanity itself, a reminder that we often overlook the extraordinary hiding in the everyday. And so the story continues, carried by collectors, historians, and storytellers who refuse to let it fade. Somewhere right now, someone is opening a fresh roll of pennies, heart racing, magnifier in hand, dreaming of discovery. Somewhere else, a child drops a coin into a fountain, making a wish without realizing that even wishes have their own currency. The Denver minted 2017D Lincoln cent lives on in those moments, in hope, in history, and in the soft shimmer of copper beneath light. As years passed, the legend of the 2017D cent only deepened. What began as curiosity had turned into cultural folklore. People spoke of it not simply as a coin, but as a symbol of hidden potential. Television hosts mentioned it in the same breath as rare stamps and lost paintings. Journalists wrote features comparing its meteoric rise to stories of forgotten treasures rediscovered in attics. Museums began receiving letters from people convinced their ordinary pennies were the fabled one worth $71 million. Most weren't, of course, but the fascination itself became part of the story, a nationwide reminder that magic can exist in the mundane. Collectors gathered at conventions, their display cases gleaming beneath fluorescent light. Rows of Lincoln cents stretched across velvet cloth, from early Wheatears issues to the bright shield reverses of modern times. But inevitably, the 2017D drew the largest crowds. People leaned in, whispering, tracing the outlines of Lincoln's face behind glass, feeling a quiet awe.
Some brought magnifiers, others cameras, trying to capture the impossible perfection of surface and strike.
Yet photographs never seemed to do it justice. There is something about copper, about the way it breathes under light, that refuses to be fully captured.
Each reflection changes with movement, each moment reveals something new. The coin almost seems alive. In Denver, mint technicians occasionally reflected on the phenomenon with disbelief. They had produced billions of those coins, each identical in intent. The presses had run day and night, their cadence like the heartbeat of industry. None of the workers could have known that among the mountains of copper-plated zinc, one or two coins might achieve mythic fame. Some retired employees admitted to feeling pride, others bemusement.
"It's funny," one machinist said, "we were paid to make pennies, not legends." Yet there is poetry in that humility, the idea that greatness sometimes emerges unnoticed from routine labor. The legend soon traveled far beyond the United States. Collectors in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East began chasing the coin, not just for its potential value but for what it represented: American perseverance, technological mastery, and an almost spiritual reverence for detail. Auctions streamed live across continents, bids climbing higher each year. Financial analysts began referencing the 2017D in discussions about alternative assets, noting how tangible objects with narrative appeal often outperformed stocks or cryptocurrencies in uncertain times. The penny had become a paradoxical safe haven, its worth tied not to metal but to meaning. Meanwhile, artists and philosophers found their own metaphors in its story. Some saw in it a reflection of human potential, the notion that even something born common can become extraordinary under the right light. Others read it as a critique of value systems, proof that society will ascribe fortune to whatever captures imagination. For poets, it symbolized endurance; for economists, scarcity; for dreamers, destiny.
The 2017D had escaped its denomination entirely.
It was no longer a cent, it was an idea behind every display and documentary, though there was still the quiet craft of numismatics, the patient study of edges, alloys, dye states, and mint luster. Scholars continued cataloging known examples, updating census lists, examining microscopic features through advanced imaging. Some found minute variances in the thickness of lettering or the relief of Lincoln's cheek, subtle clues hinting at which die pairs had produced the most perfect strikes. These details, invisible to casual eyes, became chapters in an ongoing scientific saga. Even within perfection, they sought further understanding. Collectors often speak of the moment of discovery, that instant when they realize they're holding something special.
Those who've handled a flawless 2017D describe it with reverence.
They mention the silence that follows, the way light bends off the copper surface, the realization that they're touching a story larger than themselves. It is not greed that drives them, but wonder. Wonder that in a world of noise, something so small can hold such stillness. Economists studying the phenomenon noted a fascinating pattern. After the hype of astronomical prices, the coin's market stabilized, but the cultural fascination did not fade.
Instead, it matured. Serious collectors treated the 2017D as a cornerstone of modern numismatic history, a benchmark for grading precision and mint quality. Museums began using it in educational exhibits about coin production and the evolution of U.S. currency.
In classrooms, teachers used the penny story to illustrate the concept of perceived value, how economics, psychology, and storytelling intertwine. Children listened wide-eyed, realizing that history was not only in textbooks but sometimes in their own pockets. The coin also reignited debates about the future of the penny itself. For decades, policymakers had argued that the cent cost more to make than its face value justified. Yet every time the 2017D was mentioned, those arguments softened. How could a nation discard the coin that bore Lincoln's face, that had inspired generations of collectors and storytellers alike? In a sense, the legend of this single cent helped preserve the denomination itself, if only symbolically. It reminded people that heritage cannot be measured in profit margins. Beyond economics and collecting, the coin's journey became a meditation on impermanence.
Copper tarnishes, surfaces dull, time erases shine. But stories endure.
The 2017DS story endures because it captures the paradox of human creation, that something meant to be spent and forgotten can instead become eternal through attention and care. In 1,000 years, when digital currencies have long evolved, perhaps archaeologists will unearth a preserved 2017D and wonder what civilization valued so much in a small circle of metal. They will see Lincoln's profile, the words "In God We Trust," the letter D, and T, a parable about attention, patience, and the strange alchemy between chance and intention.
The penny became a teacher of philosophy.
It whispered that value lies not in scale but in focus, not in abundance but in awareness. Collectors continued to meet, sometimes in hushed rooms, to trade stories rather than coins. Some had sold their prized specimens, others still held them, not for profit but for peace. They described how the coin had changed them, how it taught them to slow down, to notice details, to appreciate craftsmanship. One said, "Before this penny, I looked at money.
After it, I looked at art."
That sentiment spread quietly through the hobby, reshaping it into something more reflective, more human. Even those who never found a valuable coin found something equally precious: perspective. Searching through coins became a ritual of mindfulness, a daily meditation on chance and gratitude. Each new penny examined under a lamp carried the possibility of wonder. It didn't matter whether it was worth $1 or $1 million, what mattered was the act of looking. And in that looking, people rediscovered curiosity itself. In later years, as the story of the $71 million penny entered textbooks and digital archives, it became a touchstone for the idea that meaning is made, not found. The 2017D proved that the intersection of precision, rarity, and narrative can elevate even the humblest object into legend. It joined the ranks of icons that transcend their origins, the Mona Lisa of coins, some called it, smiling quietly from the palm of history, and still, somewhere out there, countless 2017D cents continue to live ordinary lives. They clink in pockets, slip through vending machines, rest forgotten at the bottoms of drawers. Most will never be examined, never be celebrated. Yet in each one lies the potential spark of story, waiting only for someone to notice. Perhaps that is the true legacy of the 2017D. It invites us to look closer, to believe that greatness can reside in the smallest of things. The presses in Denver continue to strike new coins each year, their rhythm unchanged. But among mint workers and collectors alike, the thought lingers that lightning may strike again. Another perfect coin, another quiet miracle. And when it does, someone, somewhere, will feel that same heartbeat of discovery, that same breathless awe that began this story. Because legends are not born once, they are born every time someone looks with wonder. Time moves on, yet the story of the 2017D Lincoln cent refuses to fade. It lives quietly in collectors' vaults, in auction catalogs, and in the shared imagination of those who still search through change beneath kitchen lamps. Each year that passes adds a thin layer of legend. The coin has become part of numismatic folklore, spoken of with the same reverence once reserved for the 1909 SVDB or the 1955 double die. But its power lies in something rarer than age, immediacy. It was born in our own century, struck by modern machines, yet it carries the same mystery that ancient coins once held when dug from forgotten ground. Those who study it now look back not only on the coin but on the era that produced it. The 2010s were a time of transition between tangible and digital, between tradition and innovation. The Denver Mint, where the 2017D was born, stood as a fortress of continuity, its heavy presses echoing through metal walls even as the world moved toward contactless payment. The hum of machinery, the scent of heated metal, the shimmer of planchets pouring through hoppers, these were the sounds and textures of craftsmanship surviving into the information age. Every 2017D cent struck that year became a tiny protest against disappearance, a promise that the physical would not vanish completely from human hands. Collectors began to see the coin not only as an object but as evidence, a proof that precision and beauty could still emerge from the industrial. Under microscopes, the finest specimens revealed surfaces so clean that light glided across them without distortion, as if copper had learned to breathe. The reflection of a camera lens on the coin's field looked like a small universe suspended in metal. To the trained eye, every line and curve held in tension, the sculpted cheek of Lincoln, the faint shadow under his collar, the perfect symmetry of the Union Shield reverse. Each detail was a signature of human design amplified by technology. What fascinated scholars most was the paradox at the heart of the 2017D story. Billions of coins were made, yet only a handful achieved perfection. Statistically, it should have been impossible for any single piece to stand out, but it did. Somewhere in that sea of sameness, one coin crossed a threshold invisible to ordinary sight and became legend. That notion resonated far beyond numismatics. It became a quiet metaphor for existence itself, that amid repetition and routine, there can arise one moment, one act, one life that changes everything. By the late 2020s, the global coin market had evolved. Digital auctions replaced traditional hauls, collectors bid in real time from continents apart, and high-definition imaging allowed anyone to study a coin as though it were in their hand. Yet when the 2017D appeared on a screen, people still leaned closer, eyes narrowing, breath held. Even through pixels, its aura persisted. The copper glow seemed to radiate through technology itself. Some joked that the coin had become self-aware, that it carried the spirit of Lincoln watching over it, guarding its mystery. In that laughter lay affection. It was a way of acknowledging that this tiny disc had transcended its purpose. Museums began curating exhibitions about the meaning of money, and at the center of these exhibits often lay a single glass case holding the 2017D. Children pressed their faces to the glass. Teachers explained how this coin was identical to the one in their pockets, and yet somehow different. Visitors walked away not thinking about price, but about perception. They began to understand that value is not an intrinsic property of things, it is a relationship between object and observer. The penny, once dismissed as insignificant, had taught an entire generation a lesson in seeing. Collectors continued to document each verified specimen. Each was photographed under identical lighting, cataloged with serial numbers and grading notes: luster 5/5, strike 5/5, surfaces 5/5. These sterile descriptions could never quite capture what the coin evoked, but they served as testimony. The Denver Mint, too, kept records, though it never officially acknowledged the legend. Perhaps that silence was wise. Mystery thrives in spaces that remain unspoken. As the myth matured, people began to ask whether the $71 million figure still held any truth. Experts agreed that it represented more symbolism than sale price, yet even the rumor had value. It inspired curiosity, sparked study, and reminded the public that economics begins with imagination. In a sense, the legend was worth more than the metal ever could be. It kept alive the ancient human habit of wonder, the same wonder that once drew explorers across oceans and astronomers toward the stars. In private conversations, some collectors spoke about how the coin changed their perspective on ownership. One said he no longer thought of possessions as things to keep, but as stories to hold for a time. Another said that the 2017D reminded him that perfection is temporary, that its preservation is an act of constant vigilance. They polished their cases carefully, kept humidity stable, and rarely touched the coins with bare fingers. To hold one was to commune with precision itself. The philosophy of collecting transformed. Where once it had been about accumulation, it became about observation. The 2017D taught patience, hours spent examining minor details, learning to see rather than merely look. That practice, though rooted in hobby, carried into life. People reported noticing architecture, textures, the play of light on water, because a penny had taught them attention. In Denver, new generations of mint workers joined the production lines, aware of the legend but focused on their craft. Some admitted they paused sometimes, just to watch coins tumble out of the press, wondering if another miracle might slip past unnoticed. They spoke quietly of pride, of stewardship. The mint had become both factory and mythmaker, a place where machinery touched meaning. Even as the world edged further into the digital realm, physical coins retained their quiet dignity. The 2017D remained proof that matter still matters. Its weight, only 2.5 grams, felt reassuringly real in an era of virtual currency. Holding it was like hearing an echo from the past, the clink of commerce, the whisper of exchange, the tangible sound of human history continuing. Collectors and philosophers alike often return to one phrase engraved upon it: "In God we trust." For simple words, unchanged for generations, bridging faith and materiality. Perhaps that is the ultimate secret of the 2017D's power. It embodies trust, not only in currency but in continuity, in the belief that meaning can endure across centuries. And so the story circles back to where it began: a single coin struck in 2017, ordinary in composition, extraordinary in destiny. It passes through time, gathering myth like patina. Whether displayed in a museum, sealed in a vault, or waiting quietly in a jar of change, it continues to remind us that even the smallest artifacts can hold infinite significance. Some evening, years from now, someone may open an old drawer and find a copper coin glinting faintly under lamplight. They will lift it, turn it between fingers, and see the tiny D below the date. Perhaps they will feel a spark of recognition, a whisper of the legend. And in that moment, the story will live again, renewed by another heartbeat, another glance, another act of wonder, because the 2017D Lincoln cent was never just a piece of currency. It was, and remains, a testament to human curiosity, to the beauty of precision, and to the idea that greatness can arise from the smallest of things. Even as decades pass and generations shift, the story of the 2017D penny lingers like a faint echo in the collective memory of a world that has almost forgotten what it means to hold history in the palm of a hand. The coin endures not because of its metal, nor because of its price, but because it represents a dialogue between people and time. Every scratch of the die, every gleam of the copper surface, every minute vibration from the Denver presses is a signature of human intention. The penny was made to circulate, to disappear into pockets and cash registers, but fate chose otherwise. It became a witness, a reminder that even in mass production, something singular can emerge, luminous and pure. When collectors today speak of the 2017D, they do so with a hush, as though invoking a sacred name. They describe how its surface catches light differently, how its field seems smoother, almost liquid, reflecting not only images but emotions. To them, it is not an artifact but an experience. Museums that once treated coins as static now display them under shifting lights so that visitors can watch the glow move like breath across the copper. Each reflection seems to awaken the room, reminding everyone that value is alive. It dances. Economists who once dismissed the fascination as nostalgia have begun to see it as a case study in emotional economics. The 2017D penny demonstrated that markets are not driven solely by scarcity or demand but by narrative and wonder. People do not chase the coin for profit alone, they chase the feeling of discovery, the dream that something overlooked might hold infinite worth. In a century defined by speed, the coin asks the world to slow down, to notice texture, to remember touch. In the quiet rooms of the Denver Mint archives, historians sift through old production logs. They trace the machine that struck the first 2017D coins, reading faded notations made by technicians long retired. Somewhere among those sheets lies the line number of the press that birthed the legend. It is not marked by celebration, only a simple entry, run complete. Those two words now feel prophetic, complete, yet endless, because what followed was not just a run of coins but a ripple through time. Collectors still speak of how that single penny bridged eras. It belongs as much to the 21st century as to the 19th, when Lincoln first appeared on the cent. Its shield reverse looks forward, but Lincoln's face looks back, and between those two gazes lies the entire American story: struggle, endurance, aspiration. In its copper sheen are the reflections of factory workers, artists, students, and dreamers, each one seeing something of themselves in the tiny circle of metal. As new technologies advance, holographic currencies, virtual transactions, and intangible ledgers, the 2017D reminds us of the intimacy of physical exchange. The sound of a coin falling onto a wooden table still carries weight, still marks a moment. In that sound is humanity, the rhythm of giving and receiving, the echo of countless hands. The penny's endurance proves that even in a world obsessed with the invisible, the tangible continues to speak. Philosophers have written essays about this coin, calling it a parable of perspective. They say that the 2017D teaches us to look again at what we take for granted. The ordinary can conceal the extraordinary, the common can contain the divine. In classrooms, teachers now use its story to remind students that discovery is not reserved for scientists or explorers, it can happen in a handful of change. Somewhere, a child stares at a penny and begins to dream of possibilities. That, perhaps, is the coin's greatest legacy. As decades unfold, the penny's value continues to evolve. Auctions still list astonishing figures, but those numbers are shadows of something deeper. The true value is emotional, not monetary. Each sale, each photograph, each whispered retelling adds to a growing mythos. When people speak of the 2017D, they speak of more than copper and zinc, they speak of time, craftsmanship, and the fragile miracle of attention. In homes across the world, coin jars sit on shelves and countertops. Somewhere inside one of them may rest a 2017D, unrecognized, silent, waiting. Perhaps it will be discovered tomorrow, or perhaps never. But the possibility, that eternal what if, keeps curiosity alive. That is the beauty of legend, it turns chance into hope, and so the documentary draws to its quiet heart. The camera moves slowly over fields of scattered coins, light glinting and fading as if time itself were breathing. A narrator's voice softens, reflecting the truth that has always been at the center of this story, that worth is not found but felt. The 2017D, worth $71 million in rumor and wonder, is a mirror held up to humanity. It reflects our longing to believe that something small, something nearly invisible, can hold infinite importance. As night falls over the city of Denver, the mint stands silent, its machines resting until morning. Inside, unseen in the dark, thousands of coins lie stacked in bins, identical and anonymous. Yet among them, somewhere in the memory of metal, the spirit of that single perfect penny endures. It glows faintly in imagination, reminding us that perfection is not a state but a story that continues as long as someone believes, and perhaps that is how every legend ends, not with closure, but with continuation. The 2017D Lincoln cent still turns in the light, still calls to those who look closely, still whispers through time that beauty hides in plain sight. It is more than currency, it is testament. Testament to patience, to craft, to the endless capacity of the human heart to find meaning in the smallest of things. Years drift onward, and the story of the 2017D penny continues to breathe softly through the corridors of memory. Time has layered it with quiet reverence, the kind that only legends earn after outlasting disbelief. What began as a tale of copper and machinery has become something more intimate, a meditation on attention, on craft, on the human need to preserve meaning in a fleeting world. Every collector who has ever held that tiny disc, every child who has ever dreamed of finding it, contributes to the coin's unending heartbeat. Somewhere, beneath the fluorescent lights of a numismatic convention, a curator adjusts the angle of a display case. The 2017D lies within, untouched by time, its color deepening to a mellow red-bronze glow. Visitors lean close, their reflections mingling with Lincoln's, their breath fogging the glass for a moment before vanishing. They see themselves not as owners or buyers, but as witnesses. Around them, the murmur of the crowd softens into silence, and in that silence there is awe, the same awe that once filled the mint floor when metal first met dye and history took form. The coin no longer belongs to any one person. It belongs to the continuum of curiosity. It belongs to those who still pause to notice the beauty of the ordinary. It belongs to the idea that creation, no matter how small, can touch eternity. Its weight, 2.5 grams, is the weight of attention, the measure of a human gaze. When people hold it, they feel time itself condensed, centuries of design evolution, years of minting discipline, seconds of chance. Scholars continue to write about it.
They note its perfect strike, its mirror-like fields, its scarcity.
Yet beneath their technical words flows something unquantifiable, the recognition that this coin transcends data. In every essay, every lecture, every documentary frame, the 2017D is both subject and symbol. It represents the persistence of craftsmanship in an era that too often forgets the hands behind the machines. It stands as evidence that precision is an art form, and that the smallest artifact can embody the vastness of effort. When future generations study the early 21st century, they may see the 2017D as a relic of a transitional age, when humans stood between the physical and the digital, still anchored to the tangible even as they reached for the intangible. They will see in it not just a coin, but a testament to what people once valued: memory, material, touch, and story. The copper shield on its reverse will speak of unity, Lincoln's calm gaze of endurance.
The D mint mark, once just a letter, will signify devotion to craft, the humble pride of workers who forged history without knowing it, and yet, for all its fame, the coin retains its humility.
It does not shout. It does not gleam for attention. It simply exists, quietly, perfectly, like truth itself.
In that stillness lies its power.
The more the world changes, the more precious that stillness becomes. Amid the noise of modernity, the 2017D is a pause, a breath, a reminder that permanence begins with patience. Collectors often say that coins speak if you listen long enough. The 2017D speaks softly. It tells of molten metal flowing into shape, of dies aligning with atomic precision, of a moment frozen into matter. It tells of chance, how billions can produce one miracle. It tells of value that cannot be measured in currency, only in wonder. And when one listens closely, it tells of gratitude, for skill, for history, for the human impulse to create something enduring. As the documentary fades, the camera lingers once more on the coin's surface. Light drifts across it slowly, revealing the faint textures of engraving, the minute lines that record the pressure of the minting strike.
Each detail becomes vast under magnification, landscapes of copper that mirror mountains, rivers, and time.
The narration grows softer, as though speaking from within the coin itself, whispering a final truth, that beauty is not rare because it is distant, but because it is often overlooked. In living rooms and classrooms, people continue to replay the story. They pause, they think, they glance at the change on their tables and wonder.
Maybe one day, one of those coins will catch the light just right and, for a second, feel extraordinary.
That spark of curiosity, passed from generation to generation, is the real inheritance of the 2017-D. The story rests, not as an ending, but as a circle. A penny that began as currency became memory, then meaning, then myth. It reminds the world that greatness is not always carved in stone or written in history books.
Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone to look closely enough to see it.
And perhaps that is the greatest lesson the 2017D has to offer, that in a universe vast and unpredictable, the smallest things can carry the largest truths. The mint presses continue to hum in distant halls, metal still meets die, and coins still pour into bins by the thousands.
Among them, another might one day emerge, a new glimmer, a new story.
But for now, the 2017D remains the quiet heartbeat of modern numismatics, a single cent that became a universe. Its legend endures not because of fortune, but because of faith, the faith that what we make, if made with care, can outlast us all. And as the last frame fades to darkness, the faintest reflection of copper lingers like a star in the night, a reminder that even the smallest spark of creation can light the endless corridors of time. The story of the 2017D Lincoln cent drifts onward like a faint melody that refuses to fade, carried quietly through time by those who still believe in the poetry of small things.
In museums and homes, in quiet drawers and glass cases, the coin endures.
Its copper surface no longer glows with the new mint brilliance of 2017, yet its patina has deepened into something more intimate, an aged warmth that seems to hold memory itself. Each tone of brown and red tells of air, of touch, of time. It has become less an object of trade and more a vessel of reflection. Collectors who stand before it no longer speak of its price.
They speak instead of its calmness, its symmetry, its precision.
They speak of how something so minute can capture the temperament of an era, the optimism of its minting, the fascination it sparked, the generations who traced its legend.
To them, the 2017D is not a commodity, it is continuity.
It reminds them that even in a digital age, craftsmanship leaves a fingerprint, and that beauty still resides in the deliberate meeting of metal and intention. In the decades since its creation, the coin story has woven itself into cultural memory. Films, books, and exhibitions reference it as the moment when modern minting crossed into myth. Art students study its contours in design courses, economists reference it when explaining perceived value, philosophers cite it in lectures about meaning and material. Its influence extends beyond collecting, it has become shorthand for the miracle of noticing. Somewhere in Denver, the mint that gave it life still hums with the same mechanical rhythm. New years appear on fresh coins, new symbols and finishes are tested, but every technician who walks those halls knows the story. The presses that once struck the 2017D are maintained with quiet reverence, as though the memory of perfection lingers in the steel. They continue their work, but each press of metal to die carries an unspoken hope that another such moment of grace might one day repeat itself. Numismatists studying the coin now focus on its legacy rather than its rarity. They see it as a turning point when collectors began to look beyond scarcity and toward significance. The 2017D reminded the world that a coin's worth is measured not only in numbers but in narrative. Its rise reshaped how people perceived value, less as possession, more as participation in a story larger than themselves. Even in ordinary circulation, echoes of its legend persist. A 2017D penny can appear in a handful of change and, for a fleeting instant, stir curiosity. Most will move on without noticing, but a few will pause, tilt it toward the light, and wonder. That gesture, the pause, is the real inheritance of the legend. It teaches mindfulness through metal, reverence through repetition. In classrooms, teachers still recount its story to remind students that history is not confined to distant centuries. It can rest in your pocket, waiting to be recognized. They describe how a coin struck by machine became a lesson in human meaning, how design, precision, and chance intertwine to produce something enduring. The children listen, eyes wide, turning their own pennies between their fingers as if each might whisper its own secret. Over the years, the coin's myth has become a kind of collective ritual. Each retelling, each photograph, each examination through a magnifier is an act of remembrance. It is a dialogue between generations, the mint workers who created it, the collectors who preserved it, the storytellers who carried its legend forward. The 2017D is no longer merely an artifact, it is a bridge between making and remembering. As the documentary camera moves slowly across scenes of vaults, mint rooms, and the copper shimmer of coins under soft light, the narration lowers to a whisper. The 2017D Lincoln cent rests at the intersection of fact and feeling. It asks nothing, yet it gives meaning simply by existing. It teaches that progress need not erase tradition, that innovation can coexist with reverence. In the end, the coin's worth, spoken once as $71 million, has transformed into something immeasurable. It is valued not in markets but in minds. It stands as a reminder that perfection is possible, even if accidental, that human effort, when guided by care, can leave echoes that outlast intention, and so, beneath the quiet hum of modern life, the legend continues. The coin remains still, yet its story moves endlessly through the hearts of those who believe that history, however small, is never truly spent. It waits in its case, glinting under the final light of evening, carrying within its tiny circle the vastness of time itself, a single cent that became a symbol of everything we choose to remember. Time continues its quiet march, and yet the story of the 2017D Lincoln cent still endures, unchanged, unwavering, alive in the consciousness of those who seek connection through the small artifacts of history. The world around it has evolved, paper money has given way to digital ledgers, metal coins have become relics of a more tactile age, but in glass cases and archival drawers, the penny remains. It lies there in perfect stillness, its copper glow softened by age but brightened by remembrance. Curators handle it with gloved precision. Under the lights of conservation labs, it rests upon black velvet, surrounded by calibrated instruments that measure humidity, temperature, and luminosity. Every precaution exists to preserve the coin's delicate surface, but the real preservation happens in memory. The story of its creation, discovery, and myth is now part of the language of numismatics. It is referenced in university theses, in economic treatises, in documentaries that explore not just metal but meaning. The 2017D has moved from object to idea. Visitors to the National Coin Collection in Washington pause longest at its display. The room is quiet there, sound seems to fade in respect. The coin sits at the center of a circle of light, its obverse showing Lincoln's enduring profile, its reverse the shield of unity that marked an era of renewed national identity. Children stand beside grandparents, both generations reflected together in the glass, a living metaphor of continuity. No one speaks loudly, they simply look, aware that they are in the presence of something that defies the ordinary. Technicians at the Denver Mint, now automated and guided by systems of precision beyond imagination, still keep an image of the 2017D on their monitors. It has become an emblem for excellence, a symbol of what happens when machinery and human oversight align perfectly. Every new employee learns its history during training, not as a tale of luck, but as a study in discipline. They are taught that the extraordinary can emerge only when the ordinary is done with care. The coin has become a quiet standard, a reminder of responsibility passed from generation to generation. In numismatic journals, articles continue to appear. They examine die sequences, metallurgical composition, and minting anomalies with increasing sophistication. Yet beneath the science, there is always reverence. The 2017D is treated with the same respect once reserved for masterpieces of art. Its measurements are printed to the thousandth of a millimeter,
its color temperature recorded, its reflectivity analyzed under spectral light. These studies are acts of devotion disguised as data. Collectors, too, have grown older, and some have passed their prized specimens to museums or foundations. The coins, once hidden in private vaults, are now public again, reunited in exhibitions titled The Scent That Endured. Visitors watch as slow-turning pedestals display the coins under soft illumination. A narrator explains how they once traveled from the Denver Mint into circulation, how one coin among billions changed the way a nation viewed its smallest denomination. The audience listens, transfixed, because the story is not only about a coin, it is about noticing, about how significance begins in a single act of attention across the country, in classrooms and libraries. The coin continues to inspire study. History teachers use it to introduce industrial design, economics professors use it to discuss perceived value, art instructors reference it when speaking of proportion and light. Each discipline finds within it a reflection of its own truths. The 2017D has become multidisciplinary, existing wherever curiosity lives out in the world. Millions of ordinary 2017D cents still circulate, unremarked. They rattle in drawers, hide beneath car seats, rest in jars on kitchen shelves. Most who handle them will never know that among them once existed a near-mythic specimen worth $71 million. Yet, in a subtle way, the legend ennobles them all. Every 2017D penny now carries a faint aura of possibility, as though the story itself has infused the entire mintage with quiet dignity. As decades slide into centuries, the original coin will one day rest in an archival vault, sealed in inert gas, protected from air and light. It may no longer be shown publicly except through holographic replicas, yet its essence will remain alive through records, through high-resolution scans, through words. Even when the physical metal finally yields to time, the image will persist, etched into digital memory, studied and revered by future generations who will speak of the early mints as we speak now of ancient workshops somewhere. The faint hum of Denver's minting presses still fills the night. The process continues, planchets fed, dies aligned, strikes executed. The rhythm is eternal, mechanical, but behind every motion stands a lineage of human care. The legend of the 2017D has ensured that no press runs unnoticed, no coin leaves without reflection. Each new cent, though destined for circulation, carries the shadow of that perfect one. It is as if the spirit of precision lives on, guiding unseen hands, and thus, the coin's journey continues, not in movement, but in influence. It has ceased to be a single artifact and become a principle that diligence, humility, and wonder can converge to produce something lasting. The penny's story endures not because it is rare, but because it is remembered. It is the human act of remembrance that keeps metal alive, that turns copper into narrative and narrative into legacy. As the camera pans slowly across rows of coins glinting under museum lights, the narrator's voice softens once more. The 2017D Lincoln cent rests among them quietly, neither boastful nor forgotten. It is simply there, constant, complete, unassuming. And in its stillness lies the echo of everything it ever represented: history, precision, patience, and the extraordinary promise hidden within the ordinary. In the end, everything returns to silence. The lights in the museum dim, the visitors drift away, and the glass case holding the 2017D Lincoln cent reflects only the soft glow of evening. It is here, in this quiet, that the full weight of its story can be felt. The camera lingers on the coin's surface, tracing the gentle relief of Lincoln's face, the smooth arc of the year stamped below. Nothing moves, yet the stillness feels alive, as if the coin itself breathes with the memory of all who have held it, studied it, dreamed of it. The narrator's voice, slow and deliberate, fills the fading space. This coin began as molten metal, shaped by pressure, struck by precision. It was born in a factory of sound and fire, destined for pockets, for commerce, for the anonymous hands of millions. But by some turn of chance, one coin became more than its purpose. It became meaning. It became story. And from story, it became symbol. The film cuts to images of the Denver Mint at dusk. Machines rest. A faint hum remains, like a heartbeat that refuses to stop. Workers walk out into the twilight, carrying with them not coins but quiet pride. They may never see the collectors, the historians, the children who will one day speak their names in wonder, but the legacy of their labor will echo long after they are gone. For in each strike of metal, in each perfected surface, lies a fragment of devotion. The narration continues. In an age when transactions move through invisible networks, when numbers replace touch, when currency has become data, the 2017D Lincoln cent endures as a reminder of tactility, of the human need to hold value in the palm of the hand. It is proof that the smallest things still matter, that meaning can survive even when the world rushes past it. Across continents, collectors still whisper about it. They trade stories, not for profit but for belonging. They share photographs, mint reports, memories of the first time they saw its gleam. The legend has outgrown its metal shell.
It has become a shared memory, a cultural heartbeat that connects people who may never meet but understand, without words, why this 1 cent feels eternal. Time will pass. The copper will darken.
New generations will give it new names, new interpretations, new myths.
But in every version, the truth will remain: the 2017D coin was never just about wealth.
It was about attention.
It was about the human instinct to see beauty in detail, to find wonder in repetition, to believe that even in the smallest circle of metal, the story of a nation can reside. The camera now fades through decades of history compressed into light: the first coin leaving the die, the collector discovering it, the museum displaying it, the student studying it, and finally the empty mint, silent but filled with unseen echoes. The sound of a single coin rolling across a table fills the final frame, a metallic chime that lingers in the air, like the note of a memory refusing to fade. And as that sound dissolves into silence, the narrator's last words fall softly: every era leaves its mark not in monuments, but in details.
Every hand that holds a coin holds history.
And somewhere, beyond value and beyond time, 1 penny continues to shine, small, perfect, and infinite.
The 2017D Lincoln cent.
A story without end. The screen fades to black. A faint glint remains for a moment longer, then disappears, leaving only the hush of eternity.